Hello and welcome to the Matchbook Betting Exchange Irish Greyhound Derby podcast. Yes, indeed, it's the week of the final of the Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby, and myself, PL, and Dylan Brennan are once again back to discuss all matters Derby related, and it is certainly from a greyhound racing enthusiast point of view, the greatest week of the year. Dylan Brennan, the Lily White Assassin, PL, the master, here with me to discuss matters. Before we get straight to the boys, let's just remind you of that sign-up offer with Matchbook. Let's get it out of the way. Gives you plenty of time to get stuck into the action itself. Firstly, don't be afraid to join up. £30 back is a free bet if your first bet is a loser, using the bonus code Insights30. Insights30, the bonus code again. £30 back is a free bet if your first bet loses. You can use it on dogs, horses, synchronized swimming for all I care, but it's there, it's offer, and make sure you use it. PL, Dylan, this is the week we all look forward to during the week. Of course, PL, you're an Englishman. You're proud of your derby across there. But for myself and Dylan, this is it. This is the big show, Dylan. What were your first memories of the derby, and what are your plans this week?
First memories. I can't even. The big standout for me, and the one I always come back to when someone asks me, even about favourite dog, was College Causeway. Just everything about that, just the dog himself and the commentary that went with it, and just that'll always, I'll never forget that.
Please don't tell me that's your first memory, though.
No. That's what I'm trying to.
I'm feeling old. I think I wasn't even I don't even know. I was just about in my 20s when he won the derby.
No, I think first memory. I think it could have been Like a Shot, if I'm not mistaken.
Like a Shot. Wow. Okay. 2005.
Which probably,
I was working at that derby, so that goes to show you how much older I am.
That is the first one I can kind of remember. Yeah, Owen McKenna. It was Owen's first derby, wasn't it?
It was his first derby.
Like a Shot. But yeah, in terms of plans, up to Dublin early on Saturday for a few beers, and hopefully long into the night. Hopefully celebrating Callaway Pro-Am maybe winning the derby. Another one for Owen.
I think I can sense a fast away faded coming up here, Paul. Can you? A non-stayer up in my top right hand corner. PL, yourself, you're around a little bit longer than Dylan. I dare say just a little bit longer than me, but you have a long history in the Irish Derby, some great memories.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't been to the Irish Derby physically. I think I went to see Ballymac win, but I always follow it. And I must admit though, Ian, I do agree with Dylan. If you say a memory of the derby, and the fact that I'm at, as you mentioned, off air, Shea Buckley, College Causeway, and that legendary commentary from your father, it just sticks in the memory. It's a lasting memory.
Given the fact you are actually staying in Pat Buckley's house at present, I dare say there's one or two little reminders of College Causeway. Is there a picture on the wall somewhere?
There is. Yeah, and it's brilliant, by the way. It's. I would say I don't make him wrong for that, and I know what you're saying. There's been some brilliant winners along the way, but you're asking for memories, and I think that does stick in the memory.
Yeah, sure does. And what about this week? You're obviously staying down there for a few days. You're going to travel around, I believe, see a few people. But are you up on Friday night and Saturday night?
Yeah, obviously we've got the Talking Dogs Roadshow, 5:00 on the Friday, and yeah, we'll be up there. Actually, a pal of mine, he lives in just outside of Belfast. I've known him for a good 30 years now, and he said he'd like to meet up before going to the Derby final. So I think that's what we're going to do, be in Dublin ourselves fairly early. But I don't think I'll be drinking quite as much as Dylan.
Yeah, it sounds like I'll be playing a bit of catch up when I get down the stairs at about 11 o'clock at night. I'll be fit for it though. I'll be fit for it. I'll be getting straight into it. Let's talk about the Derby because it's coming up fast. I have to mention that my first memories of the Derby were television time, and I never forget that RT theme tune, and I might post it out on Twitter during the week just to sort of to spark a few sort of little triggers with people. But my first memories of the Derby were watching the likes of Maniville Magic on TV. But I think the first Derby I was at, or certainly my favourite Derby winner of all time, he was the dog that really got me hooked, was Ardfert Mick back in 1989 for Matt O'Donnell. Of course, his daughter Jennifer has a finalist in Born Warrior. Yeah. So that's where I go back. As regards plans, well, I'm working, then I'm drinking. And that's the way my weekend is going to go. I'll be working Sunday, but I can tell you it'll be done with a heavy load of there'll be a couple of painkillers been taken that morning, let me say. We are left with an intriguing Derby final. Let's quickly reflect on the semi-finals. There were two immense races at PL. Obviously, the first semi-final is going to be remembered wrongly for Coulivan Hoffa checking between the last two bends. He's a stride away probably from going through and being a 4-7 favourite in the Derby final. Instead, he's crashed out of the Derby, and the three qualifiers. A brilliant performance by Callaway Pro-Am, despite the fact that he was perhaps a little bit lucky at the bottom corner, but he really drove through when he got the gap. Crafty Kokora once again coming from out of the clouds, despite meeting all sorts of traffic and being a mile back at halfway. And of course, Born Warrior, the aforementioned Born Warrior, who was a very likely pace setter in the final. Then the second semi-final, we saw the comrades Ballymacfin, Mary's Wedding, and back in third was Droopy's Nice One. PL semi-finals.
Yeah, it was cool. And do you know, actually, literally, I was doing a bit of Craper this morning, but literally I went back. I thought, I've got to just refresh my memory. I've been watching it for the last couple of days, and obviously we came over yesterday. But I thought I'll refresh my memory again today, and I watched that first semi-final. I actually didn't realise how desperate Hoffa was. Not at the third bend, down the back straight, when Born Warrior nearly put him on the grass. And that's why he thought, well, I'm going to have to check back here, and because I'm going to be over the hair out. And then he made his challenge inside, and it was cruel how it happened. Looking at the first bend and Born Warrior cutting the first bend, you'd have to say, well, that was why he did it again at the third bend. I think actually I listened to your commentary as well, and you're actually anticipating him doing the swinging off the last, but before he did that, it was the cutting of the first bend and the spinning off of the second bend, and the fact that it just took his ground.
You could just at that very moment, you could hear my trumpet smashing on the floor.
Yeah,
if you actually listen carefully enough.
Exactly, and and it was a. I think I commentated on it as well, didn't I? On the watch on, and I was actually devastated because I thought it was cruel the way he went out, Ian. That was the thing. It was cruel more than anything else. It wasn't his fault. He didn't do anything wrong other than he missed it. And if you remember last week, I said it's all about not even the half a length; it's the quarter of a length. I said he's probably got a length in hand, and that's probably actually he didn't have a length in hand. A little bit less, and that was the thing. He couldn't get round him, Born Warrior. And then it was that manoeuvre at the half. I think it was the manoeuvre at the half that actually changed it, because he would have then been inside or outside of him. If you get, it would have been in front of him.
If he'd made the choice, let's say as they're entering the back straight, that he was going to stay to the inside of Born Warrior, he'd have been through that gap by the third bend. Yeah. No, I tend to agree with you. The second heat, Mary's Wedding, and obviously tried to lead into corner. Ballymacfin sort of forced her away. We haven't mentioned Callaway Pro-Am, of course. He still had to put his neck, put his head down and drive through the gap. He's a dog with immense determination.
Yeah, and because he's bigger than him. I have been a believer for a while, and me being me, we do this podcast. And I got involved. I said to you right at the start, I wasn't going to get involved too soon. And I had a couple of little bets, and I had a couple of fair bets on massive prices after the first round, and they got knocked out in the second round. Yeah. And we do these podcasts, and you keep saying, "Can you see any value, PL? Can you see any value?" And I said, "Oh yeah, I think Pro-Am is pretty big at 11. Did I back him? No." And then last week I said, I think Kokoro is still a bit of value. Did I back her? No. And now I think all I've got is Born Warrior left in out of my 5 that we started off with. And you kind of think, how many goes do you have? And I as I said to you, I've been doing this, good 30 odd years now. I'm 60 years of age, and I keep saying you, especially from a young lad like Dylan, I'm quite willing to learn, and I don't know what's right and what's wrong still, and you've got this ability to find this value. You spot it, you tell the whole world, and then you don't do it yourself.
Yeah, in hindsight, kicking on at 11 would have been good. Ballymacfin did it rightly in the second heat. We said he wouldn't tire home, and he didn't.
No, he kicked again, didn't he? And that was the thing again about we were watching his quarter final effort, and we said it was workmanlike, but he actually ran away from his sister coming off the halfway down the off the last to the line, and he kind of came back to a little bit of better form. I mean, we'll get onto his draw in the final, but he's a very nice young dog, isn't he?
Yeah, no question about it. Dylan, what were your thoughts in the semi-finals?
Yeah, I was there Saturday night, and I was surprised when I look back at everyone just goes to the telly to look at the replay, obviously, when they passed the line, and from where we were in the stands, there was one telly there, and it was like, couldn't see that, so I said I'll wait till I go home. And I was actually surprised, because from where I was, I thought Hoffa was about a good half a length down, rounding them two bends when he got cut off, and I thought, God, just couldn't get there in time. It was only when I came back and looked at the replay and I watched it on Virgin, and he's actually almost level with Born Warrior, and I thought it's one of those. He's probably just in a way I was disappointed, and then there was a part of me thinking he was just desperately unlucky, because I thought if he just drives that bend, it's a completely different story. He goes through, he probably wins his heat. Born Warrior probably goes out, because he's going to just force him to check.
I think he's absolutely certain to go out. Given the circumstances, if Coulivan Hoff had forced his way through there, because Callaway Pro Am and Kokoro just looked like they were picking him up anyway. He didn't seem to lose any real ground in the maneuver. He kept on going, but as I said, Callaway Pro Am was perfectly poised in behind. He slipped through, and Crafty Kokoro, well, the tide couldn't hold this lady.
Yeah, and even like there's just so much going on in it, because going around the two bends, it's funny, we were all, with the early pace that was in it. And I looked to the back, and just as I said it to one of the lads next to me, I said, the bitch is going to win. Just as I say it, then she gets checked and she's at the rear. And then all of a sudden I'm thinking, she's going to go out, And then down at the third bend, then I thought Hoff was coming through to win, and then all of a sudden he's checked up, and then Pro-Am's left in front, and then the bitch is flying. I didn't know where to look or what to think. And even coming back and looking at the replay, I don't know how many times I've watched that, and it was crazy stuff. And look, he was unlucky. He's probably, in a way, he was unlucky because he's probably just not used to challenging up the inside, and unfortunately for him, whatever went through his head, he just thought, no, I want to switch out, or maybe I'm not getting through here.
That was my taking on it. He was in a position where he's never found himself before, trying to pass on the inside at a point where a dog was coming in them, where he'd normally be on the outside or in front, clear and doing his own business. And it was just one of those. Oh, hang on a second! I've never been here before. I think I'll check out wide. That's where I know. That's where I know my area best.
Yeah, it's the worst.
I thought there might have been some. Do you think? The pair of you, do you think there was some contact maybe because you fancy that Born Warrior was cutting the bend? So was he actually getting a bit of? I
think it was a voluntary check. Like, I think they may have been rubbing shoulders or whatnot, but nothing like that he wouldn't have been used to. I think it was just a case of no, I'm not comfortable in here. The other dog's coming back in on him, and Born Warrior always does that. He swings out wide off the second bend down the back straight, and it cuts right back in, and then he does that strange maneuver again off the final bend, which is probably enhanced by the fact that he is tight enough to the fence around the sort of the crest of the bend before he completely swings off the last bend, which makes it even look more, dramatic week in, week out.
Exaggerated.
Yeah, I don't think I like that. That's the bit that I was a bit disappointed with, because, like you said, it was obviously he was a bit shorter room. There was a rub on the shoulders, but there was plenty of space there. If he had drove that bend, it's a completely different story. He goes and wins his heat, and just for whatever reason, like I said, maybe he wasn't comfortable challenging up the inside. I don't know. Like if that had been Pro-Am, it's a different story. He probably sends Born Warrior out over the air rail and he goes through that gap. But that it didn't happen. Look, the bitch.
And what people I've heard people referring to in the last few days is the third bend. They say no, it wasn't. It was it was right between the final two bends. Like, it was 3.5, if not closer to 4. It was really late at it,
Yeah, and then obviously that just, and like we always say, any sort of trouble up front, whether it's anything at all. The bitch was just given another. She was flashing home anyway, and if they go around without any trouble, maybe you say she might be in a spot of bother, but it didn't happen. And look, it's unfortunate for Connections of Hoffa, but look, that's the way it goes. It's you need luck, and it's just one of those things.
It was one of those things. By the same standards, the second heat was pretty boring. Ballymacfinn took it up in the corner, charged past his sister. She came at him into the third bend. He kicked again off the final bend. Nice and easy. Drewby's nice one, staying on well in third. I'll tell you what we'll do. Let's get straight into the final. Let's not beat around the bush. The draw. We're going to see the prices now in a minute. The draw: 1 Callaway Pro-Am, 2 Crafty Kokoro, 3 Mary's Wedding, 4 Ballymacfinn, 5 Born Warrior, and 6 Drewby's Nice One. As regards the racing lines, I don't think there's any real complaints about the draw. I think in terms of increasing their chances of winning, 1 or 2 of the connections would sooner a different draw. Perhaps you'd be swapping the likes of Mary's Wedding at Ballymacfinn. Personally, if I had Ballymacfinn myself, I'd sooner him on the inside and 1 or 2. But I don't think any dog is I don't think there's any situation where they're guaranteed traffic problems, shall we say. I think if they do things right, they should be okay. And I think we've a pretty level playing field. There you see the prices are present. Obviously, it's early in the week and people aren't showing their hand. Like that 3.2 Callaway Pro-Am, I think that'll be very big on the night, but it's only for Buttons. Born Warriors there, 4.6. I think he'll be a shorter price in the night than Ballymacfinn, my own preference. My own, that's my own thought process. Crafty Kokoro, I think she's going to come in for money. She's at 6 there. I don't think it'll be 6 on the weekend. I think Mary's Wedding will drift. I think Drewby's Nice One will be in around that price, 32 to 38. PL, what's your take firstly on the prices before we get your opinion on the race itself?
Well, we were doing the watch along, and Craig Day was on there, and he's the odds compiler for Betfred, and obviously Damo put prices out for the sponsors, and he thought. As I thought at the time, it was very, very wrong that Pro-Am was 9 to 4. I thought he should be a fairly short. Whether he should be, how short he should be, maybe a 2.7, something like that. I think he's got a really good makeup. I think he's got a very, very good makeup. I think he should be a clear favourite. So yeah. I just think the draw is going to help him massively.
Of the others, is there anything there that's big, small? What way do you think? What way do you think the trends will be? There'll always be something that the public will latch onto. I think of the shorter price ones, Callaway Pro-Am is probably that dog. But is Crafty Kokoro, just because of her very style, the one that they're gonna, the ones that are having their tenors and 50s on, or 15, 20 quid on, rather than the hundreds? Because
you never beat with her. That's the thing. You are never beat with her. She's got the heart of a lion. She stays all day. And even we've been amazed that she can sit there, in an uncompromising position at the third turn and fly down the home straight. And you almost, in commentary, laugh because you know how freakish it is. It's just an incredible burst of pace from off the last turn. And
there was so much happening out front the other night that you sort of, you try and make reference to it at the third bend just to see where she is, get it into your own head.
Yeah.
But there was so much going on, you get into, and then it was sort of nearly the last 20 strides I got to mention again. And here comes Kokoro, know what I mean? It's you sort of.
And she could have nearly got there. That's the difference.
Yeah, you want to give them a mention before they get there. You know what I mean? Yeah. As a commentator, you don't want to be mentioning her as she's hit the front. You know what I mean? You want to be mentioning her when she's coming. So that's something that maybe that's just a personal pride sort of thing. But Crafty Kokoro. I've written it this week that no matter what greyhound fronts up, whatever greyhound's in front or whatever greyhound's in second with a challenge, they're always going to take a glance behind just to see where she is.
Yeah. She as I say, you never beat with her. You never beat with her. Just her class, her stamina, just her attitude. She's never beat. And like Dylan mentioned, he mentioned it earlier on when he was actually watching the replay or watching it live. She did get stopped on a number of occasions. So there's still that where if she gets that clear run, she will be on top of them when they're crossing the line. There's no dangers in my mind. If she gets a clear run, even if, and I happen to think that Pro-Am could actually lead, even if he leads, that's not a bad thing for her because she's going to be turning handy and got rid of a few dogs, if you get what I mean. So I think to answer your question, I think the inside pair will be backed on the night.
Yeah. Dylan, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. I had the bit short on what she is. We were even kind of, when the draw came out, we were pricing it up in the stands just to, having a bit of fun, and nothing's actually changed. I was surprised when I actually went to do it earlier on today. I'd have her shorter than what she is. I just think, even not the popularity thing, but just even the way the draw has worked out for her. Like PL said, like one's going to be gone. 3 and 4 keep middle down the back, keep middle on the straight. So I think she gets a clear run around on the rails, and it's just a matter of whether she can pick them up. And I do agree.
If you're connected to Kokoro, if you have her backed, Crafty Kokoro, like, you don't want the Derby to be won in 29:30. You want it to be won in 29:45. And if it's in 29:45, she's there, bang, like beating a short head, a head, a neck, or she's in front. But if it's in 29:45, given the makeup of the race, you feel you have a life.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting, because I think it'd be interesting to hear what PL his view on the final, because he said there about Pro-Am, possibly leading. I hope he's right. I hope he does. I still think Born Warrior is a certainty to lead. And you're just hoping then, from my point of view, that Pro-Am turns clear second and gets a run at him without any hassle. But in terms of the draw, I think the draw is perfect for all dogs. I know you said you'd maybe like to see Finn more inside. I'm not sure. I said it last week.
I'm just saying, just to enhance his own chances of winning the race.
I get
because
that.
We saw last week that Mary's Wedding went up very quickly, led him into the corner, but he's on the inside of a forced away round. I'm not sure he can lead up Callaway Pro-Am. I think if Finn is going to win, he's going to have to absolutely explode out.
Yeah, maybe so. But the only fear, and I didn't think he'd get away with it last week either. I mentioned on here last week, and he did. And it's unbelievable that the 3 nights he's been in one, the dog on his outside keeps missing it. And it's actually unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. I thought it definitely doesn't happen.
But yes, let's say if you had swapped him with Callaway Pro-Am, it's Crafty Kokoro in 2. It could well have happened again.
Yeah, no, exactly. It could have. But
yeah, that's a fair comment, actually. Yeah, fair comment.
In fairness to her, she's not bad away. She just does no early. And you look at her split spot, she just traps, and that's it until she gets down the back, and then she decides to go again. But yeah, I couldn't believe it in terms of Finn. But look, I think everything's going to go to the bend straight. And look, I think Born Warrior will lead her down. But I think in terms of draw, I think it's pretty fair on all of them. I know what you're saying about Finn. You'd much rather see him inside Pro-Am.
But he is a trap 3, trap 4 runner.
100%. And even the night he ran out of 4, the first night in the first round against Guncoady was probably his best run in the competition. And he went up as straight as a die. And yeah, I think it's look, we'll get into it more, but from the minute the draw was made, and I haven't changed my mind, I think it's between the top 2, 1 and 2.
Okay. Well, I'm going to call it first, right? I'm going to steal your thunder, PL, because I know you're thinking the same way as me. Born Warrior is the likely leader. There's no question about it. But this is going to be the loudest, most raucous atmosphere he has ever raced in. Strange things can happen in Derby finals. Dogs that you don't expect to blitz out can blitz out. Dogs that you expect to blitz out can miss it. There's loud, it's noisy, they're using up more nervous energy on this night than any other. And he has to do everything 100% right. Of all the dogs in the race, he's the one that has to do everything 100% right. And if he misses as a beat, he's in trouble, because something's going to turn around right on his backside. And they may not have the same pace as Coulivan Hoffa to try and charge up the inside around the bottom 2 bends. I've said it before. I'd prefer Callaway Pro-Am 2 lengths behind him at the 3rd bend than a length behind him at the 3rd bend for what we saw the other night. I think if Callaway Pro-Am is 2 lengths behind him down the back straight, I think he'll beat him, because I think he'll make up that ground around the bottom 2 bends. And I just think he is a stouter stayer. Mary's Wedding, Ballymacfin, one of them will have to need to fly. You know what I mean? I think they probably are maybe just a fraction the wrong way around. I don't know. But both are capable of a good start, but they're going to need a flying start. And then the outside Droopy's Nice One leads a lot of luck. Everything you said about Crafty Kokoro rings true for me. I think she's better in 2 than she is in 1. The Divillies have stated that in the past. I think she had a bit of a memory from Trap 1 back in the time, and she likes to have sort of the room around her to move in, to move out. And where she is in 2, she should have loads of room, because in an ideal circumstance, Callaway Pro-Am has gone on her. You'd expect Mary's Wedding and Ballymacfin to be gone on her and staying in middle path. She can pick and choose her line, and then entering the back straight, she makes her move up the inside. I don't see anything slipping onto the fence, unless it's a freakish occurrence. But I think she gets a glorious running behind them. And then it's all a case of what gets a run at Born Warrior if he's in front. If Callaway Pro-Am gets a clean run at him and gets on the bunny off the final turn without any hassle and does a 29.40 or 29.35 or 32 or something like that, I think he'd be hard to pick up. But I think Kokoro will be right on his tail at the line. That's the way I read it. I think Callaway Pro-Am will be second around the opening corner to Born Warrior, and I think Crafty Kokoro will be at worst fourth at the third bend, and then it's a case of it's in the gods. Pia.
Again, as I said to you, I went back and watched. And bearing in mind, obviously, when some of the dogs get knocked over or whatever, you can't always see the videos. But I do a lot of kind of dog for dog comparisons and pace comparisons. And in the third round, Marie's Wedding was in 1, Callaway Pro-Am was in 2, and Hoffer was in 5. And I, if you remember at the time, I was trying to say to you and ask Dylan how much early you think Callaway Pro-Am has got. And we were, I think I said, I saw him as maybe he can break. It's not then instant early, but there's then a lot of pace from winning line into the first turn. And again, I've said throughout this, I think that dogs that break, you do tend to see that urgency quicker than some dogs can miss it and then show that urgency anyway once their feet touch the ground. But there are certain styles of dogs, and I think I can see Pro-Am trapping pretty well from the red. I can see him trapping. He'll probably move off a fraction.
Yeah, he does sort of move off from 1, maybe
Slight,
to 2, maybe 2
slightly.
and a quarter. But he'll have that room early rather than
I don't think he'll even go that. I'd have him 1.5 or something like that. I don't think he'll move off that much. But I actually think, again, and I spoke about it last week about if you watch, and again you can correct me, if you watch Born Warrior against Hoffer last week, I think actually Hoffer only took maybe a half length out. I think he broke a half a length behind Warrior. It might be 3 parts. It might be somewhere in between. But
he was virtually upsides on the line. He just
joined him at the first bend.
Yeah.
So my argument is, if Hoffer can only take a half to 3/4 out of Born Warrior and the same out of Callaway Pro-Am, I don't think Born Warrior, if they actually got decent break, if Pro-Am gets a decent break, I don't actually think by the time Warrior is trying to cut the bend, I think, and you said as well, this is something that you said about his trait. He's not letting anybody through. He's not shirking the issue. And you mentioned that earlier on about your analysis with the Hoffer at the third bend. He is not letting anyone get past him. And I actually think it's not impossible for him to lead round the first 2 bends.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you, especially given the fact there'll be the Derby roar and whatnot. And is it a bit too much to expect Born Warrior to do a 3:34 or 3:39 again? This was a dog that at one point wasn't a natural starter and used to pace up. If he misses it a half a beat, Callaway Pro-Am off a good start is going to be right there on his inside.
Yeah, that's what I think. Then
you're all in on Callaway Pro-Am with a view that the bitch is the one that can beat him.
I think that's it. I think. And bearing in mind, as I said to you, the anti-post bets, Born Warrior is my best result. But I'm not going to let that cloud my assessment of the way they're drawing the final. And I was interested because I was waiting for this, not the spat, but the kind of disagreement between you and Dylan on Ballymacfin, because I think if he was drawn red and Callaway Pro-Am was in 2, he could win Derby because he'll hit Callaway Pro-Am. It actually cost maybe Callaway Pro-Am his Derby chance as well, because Dylan is spot on. He's been drawn red 3 times, and I'm not going to say he's been blessed because that's not true. Because I actually think he's a better breaker out of the red box. But for lines, and let's get it right. And I keep saying this about taking lines, and that is your optimum time, and you need to do your very, very best effort in a Derby final. He didn't want to be drawn 1. I would say if he was drawn 3 and Marie's Wedding was in 4, that would have been a better draw for him. Yeah. Better draw, because I actually think that Marie's Wedding, from these old eyes, took half a length out of him, but that wasn't enough at the turn, and she got pushed off. But they have told me that those head-ons that were shown on the Virgin, you could see him. It must have been a head-on from the traps. He stumped. He pitched a little bit, leaving the boxes. You might be able to tell me because I didn't see them.
He came out with two feet in his front 2 feet in the air. So it looks for all. Like someone asked me the other night, had someone charged? I didn't see it, but it had the makings of a dog that had gone, was back up, and it just sort of bunny hopped out. And he didn't get that initial stride going, but that. It was a minor thing. He still does a 349. His best split is 342.
The point I'm trying to make, Ian, though, is that for instance, and you keep saying the man that's at the end of the lead, if that man gets him to crash, then all of a sudden it's that surge and that momentum, and then he isn't outpaced by Marie's Wedding. Do you understand what I mean? Whereas,
correct. Absolutely, yeah.
So I actually don't. I don't think that a middle draw is a terrible thing for him. I just don't think it is. I think if he gets his timing right, all of a sudden he's going to get himself in the contest. And he's a 29-30 dog. We've seen that already twice. So he's no forlorn hope. He has got literally to smash the bars down to get himself in an enormous pitch to make him do the 29-30 without
because when it comes down to it, it probably isn't his sister he's to worry about, more Callaway Pro-Am, because he's clear him. And if he doesn't clear him, it's game over.
Yeah, and he's also got to worry about Born Warrior cutting across at the first bend.
Yeah.
So that's where I can see the squeeze. There could be a squeeze scenario because, as you say, all those dogs are going to be wanting to get their very best performance, probably their best break ever, if you like. But I just think, all things being equal, you look at trap draws, and I think that Pro-Am has got the best trap draw, and I think he actually, let alone turn very handy behind Born Warrior, he actually could even get inside him around the first 2 bends.
Dylan, what's your read?
Yeah, I thought, like I said earlier, I think Born Warrior will lead, and I think Pro-Am will slip in behind him. I can see he should get clear. It's interesting what PL said there as well. If Born Warrior is going up even a half a length ahead of Pro-Am, he's the last dog you want in their inside and just a half a length in front of him, because he's going to absolutely drive that bend. They're just, we've said it numerous times throughout these each week. There's just, when there's a dog, when he has a dog on his outside or wherever, he makes contact. There's just one thing in his mind, and it's funny because it's almost like he has an extra gear to get there ahead of him, And so I think if you're on Born Warrior, I think you want to be, you definitely want to be a length clear going into the bend. If not, you're in trouble. Whether he is or not, I don't know. I still think he might just nip around in front, Born Warrior, but I think Pro-Am will probably get a clear run at him down the back and pick him up. Yeah. And then the question is, does the bitch pick up Pro-Am? Because I think she'll get a clear run along the rail and behind. Yeah. 3 and 4.
I think it is worth pointing out there, you say about Born Warrior with a length on the opening corner. He is a remarkable bend runner. And he's not going to concede that length. If Pro-Am is going to lead him at the second bend, he's going to have to get up inside Born Warrior on the first bend, because he's not going to make up that ground 1 to 2.
Yeah.
Unless he's inside him and either making contact or forcing his way through.
Yeah, no, look, but like you say, just the atmosphere and everything else, like not one dog in this competition will unless they get to a Derby final again next year, they might never experience something like this again. The roar, everything, it's different. It's going to be unbelievable, like the noise, and even when they're on parade, and and different dogs will react differently to it, and that's, you made a good point earlier. Don't be surprised if Nice One smash breaks and leads out of the box, or one of the outsiders, because she can. And she's been in a couple of big finals before. So, look, I think everything, if you know, I think Born Warrior leads around. I think Callaway Pro gets a clear run at her. Hopefully picks her up to win. But I would fear the bitch because I don't see. I think she's going to get a clear run without any traffic. Like you say, 3 and 4 will stay middle. Comrades, they run very similar. And I think it'll be 1 and 2, first and second, hopefully in that order.
I think it's going to be a very boring prediction here, lads. I have a feeling we're all going the same way. But let's just mention one or two others there. Droopy's nice one. Like to highlight the quality of the contest, Droopy's nice one is 32. If you look at her card, it's ridiculous. The dog she's been taking on since her very first start, she has never shirked an issue. She has won 10 of her 24 starts. She's immensely fast. Yes. I still believe if you put her over the 575 or the 600-yard trip, she'd go close to the clock for either. She's 32, lads. Like that sums it up. Mary's Wedding is 27.99. She'll be 8-10 to 1 on the night. Ballymac Finn is going the right way. He's won 7 of 15. He is just the most wonderfully fluent greyhound, and like as I said, I think he'll be a drifter. I think he'll be 4 or 5 to 1 on the night. More Born Warrior, dog with blistering early speed. Crafty Kokoro, a freak, an absolute freak of nature. They could have sold her to Australia 15 times over. They turned down huge money for her. And then Callaway Pro-Am, a dog who we had seen a bit of and gone, yeah, he's a nice dog. Even after the first and second round, talking to Kevin Hennessy on my, the Saturday night wrap-ups, we said, yeah, he's a nice dog. When he goes out of this, he'll run well in the juvenile derby. And here we are a matter of weeks later. And I think you two believe that he'll certainly go very close to win the derby. I think we're all three of us in the belief that he'll be a shorter price than 9 to 4 on the night, and he's going to be clear derby favourite. So it just goes to show the quality that's in this derby final. And I can safely say, I haven't done the research, but they're all 20 whelps. There's 4 of them that would still have, been able to run the juvenile derby, which starts on Friday night. I'd say this is probably the youngest derby final of all time. And that's exciting. You know what I mean? Because touch wood, I know it doesn't always happen, but we're going to see plenty more of them in the future, which is always a great thing. Gentlemen, predictions, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to start with you, PL.
I'm going to go for Pro-Am and over Kokoro. Third spot might actually be Finn, I think.
Yeah, see, Connor Duffy was in. He wanted to know what would be the 1, 2, 3. Or is that Connor predicting 1, 2, 3? I don't know. Anyway, our 1, 2, 3. So PL has gone for Pro-Am, Callaway Pro-Am in 1 to be Crafty Kokoro. And you're going to stick with Finn for third?
I think so, yeah.
1, 2, 4. Dylan?
I'm actually, like you said, I don't know if that's gave you 1, 2, 3 predictions or it's going to be 1, 2, 3. But yeah, I'm 1, 2, 3.
Oh, are you? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So Callaway Pro-Am to be Crafty Kokoro and Mary's Wedding. Well, it'd be no surprise to anybody that's listened to anything I've done over the last few days, and I've put it in writing already. I've tipped up on the top of the card 1 Callaway Pro-Am to beat Crafty Kokoro, and for third, I've gone with Born Warrior. And it's funny. I was asked about the finish last market, and I think the one dog I would consider backing to be last is Born Warrior. I really find it hard to make a case for some of the others. I just don't know how they finished last. I think last place will come from 3, 4, or 5. And I think that's going to depend on the run they get around the opening bend, whether Born Warrior can get loose. Because I think Crafty Kokoro, I don't think there's any possible situation where she finished last unless she, touch wood, doesn't get hurt or take a fall or something like that. Droopy's nice one. I think she's going to stay out nice and wide. She'll avoid traffic, and you'd imagine she'll be staying on strongly. She'll pick up something, and Callaway Pro-Am is so well housed on the fence. But I'm going to go 1, 2, 5. That's just the way I've sided on top of the card. So I'm not changing my mind at this stage. God, lads, we've got very boring in our latter stage of this derby.
And you say boring, but it's not. I think it's just the way that you assess the race, and that's why I go back and I repeat myself. That's why I was surprised that the sponsors went 9 to 4 Pro-Am, because it looked a little bit more obvious than 9 to 4.
Yeah, I suppose what we have to realize is that the sponsors, given the fact that they are, they're the ones out there with the prices every week, they probably have more liabilities than some.
Correct.
And of course, it's not just about pricing up one race; it's about pricing up your book.
No, I understand that, and I'm saying it's not a criticism, because I've got a lot of respect for Damo. It's not a criticism. I'm just saying that I was surprised, and you're right. I think I read between the lines. I think you did a podcast with Tommy and Damo on Monday, and I think I read between the lines that was the reason why he went there because it wasn't a terrible result for him. So yeah, he's still going to try and get him beat again. So that's fine. It's. But I just think, you can only go with what you see, and we all think we've seen the same things. I happen to think, although I'm a big fan of Born Warrior, I happen to think I'm probably now I'm an even bigger fan of Callaway Pro. I just think he can get inside. I just think I think you've kind of used that terminology as well. He puts his shoulder in, Ian.
Yeah.
He's not,
There's a real desire to him.
Yes, and he's the thing is, Owen hasn't had him that long. Owen knows how to train a Derby winner. I think that's important. I'm not, again, when you look at, we go back and you can, look at these prices. This Derby, and we keep saying it's easy to say it, but, we're not clowns, the three of us. It was an exceptional quality Derby, and actually probably the two best dogs that you look at the start of it, they've not got there. Yeah. Ballinabull Red and Coolavani Hoffer, and yet he could be the new kid on the block, Callaway Prime, couldn't he? Quite easily, because you kind of get that feeling that he can dip under a 17 seconds to the third bend, and he could probably do a 29:20 when the time is right.
Yeah.
So
no question about it. Just there, Conor Duffy. He was 1, 2, 3, like yourself, Dylan. That was his prediction. So, great points and all that. It's a great final to look forward to. It's going to be an unbelievable night at Shelbourne Park. Let's just briefly mention the plate final. PL, do you have any thoughts on the plate final?
I think that Bobsleigh Dream's got an enormous chance. Obviously, there's a lot of early pace in the race, but I'm a big fan of Gary Vojo. I said that I backed him at the outset, and I backed the bitch after the first round, and I happen to think that Gary Vojo has got enough early to nigh on lead that race. And again, it's that Trap One advantage. I don't think he's necessarily a Trap One specialist, but he's been flying to the corner, outside dogs getting touches. He's a very, very young, inexperienced dog. I think he can get up inside. I think Kildare. He's now flying for Peter Crone. He's got him running back again. I think you saw in the English Derby, it took his time to get to where he was. And again, this is it's a decent competition. This plate, I'm just not clear. The other Cove well met for that matter, and I just think I've got an idea that Gary Vojo could lead, and it could set it up for Bobsleigh Dream because she just needs that run early doors. And I think Gary Vojo might just be a little bit vulnerable in the last few meters.
Yeah. The other Colby is an issue for her.
Postbook.
Yeah, the other Colby is an issue for her because he cuts inwards. You know what I mean? Dylan, what's your read on it?
I'm actually on Well Met, and he posted 33s. I'd be hoping he wins, but I actually thought the draw was made for Kildare. I think Well Met will probably edge in a little bit, not to the extent the other Colby will. I just think if Kildare can come down, I think he only did 350 the other day. He was really, really good last week. I think if he gets down into the mid 340s, I think he's a good thing. I thought 7-4 earlier in the week. I'm not sure what he is now. I actually thought was one of the bets of the night, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough. I'll be straight up. I backed Gary Vojo at the start of the week. A competitor, shall we say, went a big price, and I couldn't have it. 11-2. I took about Gary Vojo. I made him a 9-4 chance. I think Kildare is the obvious danger. And then I stuck in Bobsleigh Dream to be third because she will be absolutely hammering home. One of these nights she's going to get a clear passage early, and but she is just minding herself a little bit on the opening corner. But there's no question her gears are there. But no, it's Gary Vojo for me. Anything else on the card? Just briefly, gentlemen, because the whole card will be obviously here on Matchbook. The exchange prices, the exchange should be flying at the weekend. Obviously, it's on Racing Post Greyhound Television. It's also live on Virgin Media 2 in Ireland. So there will be plenty of betting, plenty of liquidity. Anything just catches the eye that, there are a few that will be short odds. Is there anything that just caught the eye at a bigger price, maybe, Dylan?
To be honest with you, I haven't even finished it. And the one race I can't wait to get stuck into, because on paper, is the 600. Because you've got so many in the same boat that have never ran over the trip, but all give the impression there could be something pretty special over the trip.
Anyone anyone contemplating have a bet in the 600-yard race, which is the final race of the card, probably better off waiting till the day, because I believe Bocco's Leah may be a non-runner. There may be a reserve in there. So it'll be reserved to SP with the fixed odd firms. The exchanges will obviously react that morning to the news and whatnot. But there'll be plenty of betting there available in that one. PL, have you taken a look at the card?
I've had a quick look last night. We went out to dinner last night, and I looked at it very, very quickly. And I haven't actually watched any videos to support my analysis. Obviously, Pat's got some real nice dogs on show. Sing Along Sally's back, which is a bit of a hot race with the early pace. Obviously, Flashing Willow in the sprint. And of course, my old pal Christie is back, hopefully, to get back into the winning groove. Ballinabulla Red.
Yeah, Ballinabulla Ed and Flashing Willow will be two for the accumulators, you'd imagine. They'll both be odds on, I would suspect. Sing Along Sally will certainly not be odds on. She'll need to be doing things right in a race packed with real quality. It's a quality card, no question about it. Just a couple I'm going to mention. I think the Hawkfield Ozark dog, who did the fastest ever third bend sectional the other night, 15:66. He has the makeup of all makeups. Lynchy Boys in trap 5. He won't stop until he gets to trap 1. So Hawkfield Ozark in the outside in trap 6. It's a very, very high class affair. And, something on the inside might take a flash and get too close to Hawkfield Ozark. But if nothing takes a flash, Lynchy Boy is going to take care of plenty of them. And I think Hawkfield Ozark, given his early speed and his makeup, I think he'll be clear the field into the back straight and can hold on a track that is likely to be running very quickly. And I'm really looking forward to the 750-yard contest. Like, some really talented greyhounds there. Like, I put Roxham Christoph in a 20-1 and Ballybreen Blaze, who won a semi-final of the Cornwall Cullen, in a 33-1. But that sums it up. Pablo Escobar making the 6-bend debut. Hello Hammond has been brilliant winning this Cambridgeshire. He's improved every night over the 6 bends. He's really getting used to it. He's over 4 years of age, but he's flying. And Magical Poppy, well, she's the second fastest bitch ever to race at Dublin, or in Dublin, over the 750 yards. So that's a cracking contest to look forward to. But all in all, it's an unbelievable card. It's an unbelievable occasion. And if you can get to Shelbourne Park on Saturday night, I highly recommend it. If you're not there, make sure you tune in on Racing Post Greyhound Television, or indeed Virgin Media 2 in Ireland, where yours truly will be on the commentary. PL, is there a watch along this week? A few of you missing?
No, but I've got some breaking news that Tom Francis will be there to sign autographs in person.
That is great news. That's great news. And don't ask him to tell a story, though, because you'll be there for all night and all day and whatnot. Gentlemen, a pleasure as always. Once again, all three of us believe the Callaway Pro-Am will win the Derby. All three of us believe the Crafty Kokoro will finish second. Surely it couldn't be that predictable. Anyway, we'll find out on Saturday night at Shelbourne Park. That's it from us on the Matchbook Betting Exchange. Again, don't forget that sign-up offer. Free bet for £30 if your first bet is a loser. The bonus code there is Insides30. But that's it from us. Our last podcast on the Matchbook Betting Exchange for the Irish Greyhound Derby. We'll be back later in the year, I'm sure, to cover some more top-class racing. But for the moment, it's been a pleasure, and best of luck to the 6 connections in the Boyle Sports Irish Greyhound Derby on Saturday night. Should be a very special occasion. Gentlemen, I look forward to meeting up with you. We will have a pint at some point, but for the moment, good luck, God bless, see you next time.